Hey, everybody. My apologies that this is running a little bit late. And no, Fitz, it's not because I'm always late. This is the news that I woke up to on Thursday, December the 12th, 2024, day 1023 of the full scale invasion. Now, look, we've had 3 consecutive nights with no scaled drone attacks. I don't care if they're sending less because they're saving them up for a big one. They don't have the drones. That's the only answer here. It's the only thing that makes any sense. If they had them, they would be pummeling this city with them like they do every fucking night. How come December every night it's half as many as in November and now 3 nights with none? No. No. They don't have the capacity to fire off 500 at once. So that means they don't have the drones. It's got to, I think. I guess we'll find out this weekend. Now, what we did get, not overnight, but this morning at about 11 a.m. local time here, from the Sea of Azov, 2 Kh-5969 missiles were launched at the Dnipropetrovsk region. They were both intercepted by air defense. So good hit. This next bit is an update. Now follow this thinking. This is from a year ago. I just reissued, or whatever you call it, this video on TikTok today, right? On this day, 1 year ago. This is about the Russians pursuing naval drone program of their own. The Russians pursuing an unmanned naval drone program of their own, right? And this company was supposed to have the first ones to the Russians by January 1st of 2024. They clearly failed to do that. But it is worth pointing out, if you remember from last week's lives, we saw the first Russian naval drones strike a port near about 40 kilometers east of Odessa. And they attacked a marine terminal there. And there was some damage. Now, Ukraine did not share what that damage was. We don't have a public damage assessment. But it took a year. They're a year behind schedule, but almost to the day that I recorded this a year ago, we saw the first Russian naval drones in action. We know that Zelensky's tone toward the West has changed dramatically when he talks about peace talks. He's no longer talking about peace talks. He's talking about a ceasefire with security guarantees, which is a very different thing. And he is dead set on NATO membership because the West and Russia wiped their asses with the Budapest Memoranda. You can't blame the guy. He wants something concrete. We've got word that the story that was initially reported in Le Monde, that the UK and France were talking about putting boots on the ground in Ukraine, is true. And it looks as though what the UK and France are saying to Zelensky is, if you can get a ceasefire and you can get a demilitarized zone, we will put our troops there and we will patrol the peace, keep the peace. Now, that sounds great, right? And it's exact. And does it sound like, have you heard that before? That's Trump's plan, right? That's his peace plan, is you freeze the line where it is, you create a demilitarized zone, and you have, the Germans or the British or somebody patrol it. Somebody from over there, not Americans. That's his plan. Okay, so what I see happening is Zelensky is making concessions to Trump that are exactly in line with Trump's plan, right? Donald, see, I'm here. I'm a good guy. I'm working with you. Right? Art of the deal, baby. You got to give and get, give and get. But he knows that Putin will never have NATO troops on the border with Russia. There's no way in hell that Vladimir Putin is going to go for that. So if Trump gets it in his head that he's got the whole plan worked out, we got Macron, we got Keir Starmer sending the troops for us. We don't have to put our boys there. We got the whole thing laid out. And Putin won't play ball? Fuck him. Could be. Let me tell you something. If Donald Trump saves democracy in Eastern Europe, I don't know. I'll shave my head. I don't know what I'll do. I really don't. It would really disturb me greatly. But the tone has really changed around, first of all, foreign troops on Ukrainian soil. And then secondly, the offer of them from foreign leaders. I didn't think there was anybody that was willing to put boots on the ground here. Now, again, this is not for the purposes of war, but for the purposes of peace. So that's different, but we shall see. I think the whole thing's a bluff. I think they know Putin will never go for it, and that'll swing Trump into their camp. That's what they're hoping. That's maybe. Okay, now, I reported, this is a couple weeks ago now, November 29th, on the possible destruction of an S-400 missile complex in Crimea around Simferopol. And we never got confirmation of that from anybody until today. I mean, just from, if you remember, of course you don't remember, but the pictures that I had for that showed clearly the secondary explosions of the SAM missiles, right? The S-400 missiles firing off, cooking off after the thing had been hit. So it looked pretty obvious to me that some kind of an air defense system had been hit. We just got confirmation from the British Intelligence Directorate that on November 29th, 2024, Ukrainian armed forces destroyed elements of an S-400 air defense system. Now, elements, the launchers, they got the launchers. Remember, the S-400 missile system, like its counterpart, the S-300, consists of a radar truck. That's what you want to take out. That's the brains of the operation. Second target is the command and control vehicle, right, which coordinates target acquisition and targeting solutions with the radar. And then finally, you have the launchers, where the actual weapon systems are and get launched from. So if you're going to take anything out, you want it to be the radar. Unfortunately, in this case, it was just the launchers. It doesn't appear that the radar was hit. It's worth mentioning that that system I just described is $400 million base rate for the 4 vehicles. You expand that into what they call the Triumph air defense system, where it's integrated with other air defense components. It's a $1.2 billion system. And so far, the Ukrainians have taken out 2 Triumphs in this conflict. It's incredible. Now, the UK goes on to say this is the second reported successful targeting of an S-400 air defense system following the destruction of an air defense system in Kursk on November 23rd. So 2 in November. Now, the one in Kursk, they got the radar. The whole system was taken out. That was a good hit. If you look at this satellite image that the British very thoughtfully provided us with, the impact craters are clearly marked there, and they are 13.5 meters across. That's 30 feet. We don't know what these were hit with. If they were storm shadows, ATACMS, unitary warheads, or missiles developed by the Ukrainians. I am unaware of what these were hit with. If you take a look in that yellow box, you can see the debris field basically. And then those little yellow diamonds around the craters are emergency vehicles. The British identify them as emergency vehicles that responded after the strike. Now, flaunting centuries of tradition, and that's not a joke or an exaggeration. It has been the common practice for incoming American presidents not to invite foreign leaders to the inauguration. Representatives of the government, ambassadorial staff, fine, but not the head of state. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of them is that it's an American institution this day, and it's about representing all of America. And if you have any foreign head of state there, there's going to be elements in the United States that have a problem with that. So you want to be a man for all people, right? This son of a bitch is flouting that tradition and has invited Orban and Xi. I'd be surprised if he didn't invite Putin as well. It's just that Putin can't go, right? So, not that he wouldn't be safe in the United States, he would be. He'd be under Donald Trump's protection. We're not signatories to the ICC, but he'd have to travel through the airspace of people who might feel compelled to enforce that ICC. Anyway, this is so disheartening and disgusting to me. I can't even begin to tell you. Now in Grozny, Chechnya, the barracks of the Kadyrov Guard Service were hit. We don't know much beyond that. Now, this is a little ways away. It's within range of the new jet-powered hybrid drone cruise missiles that the Ukrainians have developed, right? The Peklos, the Ruts, and the Polonitses. So it's within range of those homemade cruise missiles. But we don't have really any details. We know that it was the guard service building of the Kadyrov in Grozny. We know that Kadyrov himself threw a fit, threw all his toys on the ground and went home. But of course, there's nothing that they can do. We're assuming that it's a Ukrainian strike at this point. But we don't actually know that. The Ukrainians have not taken credit for it. And we know that there are lots of anti-Kadyrov feelings and sentiment in Chechnya. It's not impossible that there is some kind of a Kadyrov resistance rising. I'm not saying there is. I'm saying it's that there's more than one suspect than Ukraine here. And we just don't know. We just don't know. But Occam's razor, it's probably Ukraine. Now, for a couple nights there, the protests in Georgia, and this is a domino we want to watch. We do not want to take our eye off this ball. For a couple of nights there, the protests in Georgia were more serene. No water cannons, no dogs, no truncheons, no tear gas, no rubber bullets. Apparently, those days of détente have come to an end. Likely at the urging of Moscow, the police are back at mass arrests, beating protesters, tear gas, water cannons, rubber bullets, dogs, yada, yada, yada. So this is day 15, I believe. I believe this is day 15 consecutive protests in Georgia. All right, and that's it. That's it for me. Okay, now, if you listen this long, you're probably the kind of person that's interested in more details. I'm sorry this is late. It's late because I can do this when the power is out, thanks to Tony Takiri and Dutch Cossack. But I cannot bake when the power is out. So I knocked out another, I've got 200 cookies in the freezer now. So I'm off to a good start, and I'm on target to get some more done today. I will mention them again, because I don't have a live to thank them in. So again, the cookie sponsors, the people who made this whole project possible, um, include Cheyenne, Vanetta, Gabor, Arn, uh, James Boudreau, and longtime supporter of the channel, Chris Carter. And so I'm deeply appreciative to you guys. I'm going to get this rendered and posted, and then I'm going to go back to baking. And as soon as the power is out, I have a bunch of videos that I want to make that will be exclusive to the Patreon, at least for the first 24 hours. But I think you're going to find them interesting, um, particularly the Marine drone one. Um, this is this. Anyway, I'll be back at you. Thanks, kids.